Buzz Lightyear finally gets to go to infinity and beyond as the titular character in Disney Pixar's Lightyear. Naturally, Easter eggs and other hidden secrets abound in this new frontier, initiating hyperlaunch. Lightyear is an interesting spin-off. From the opening titles, we learn that we're not following the adventures of Buzz Lightyear, Andy's toy, but rather we're watching the movie on which the toy was based, which of course just so happens to be Andy's favorite movie. This time around, the visuals are more in line with some classic Hollywood sci-fi flicks, like Star Wars, 2001: A Space Odyssey, even Aliens. Check out the top shot of the turnip, the ship at the beginning, as it soars through the galaxy. If its space gray surface wasn't enough, take a look at the microgramma font. Both were made famous by the sci-fi TV and movie series Star Trek. The lettering reads SC-01TS. The S and C almost definitely stand for Star Command. The 01 probably makes this the first ship of its kind, but what do you think the TS stands for? Might be a fun little wink at Toy Story maybe. I get a feeling there will be a few more of those. In fact, about a minute later, we're following Buzz like we did in his video game, which opens Toy Story 2. Even the POV from inside of his helmet feels the same. Though I do miss the Vader breath. Buzz is even doing his mission logs as per usual, almost verbatim. He's even interrupted by someone at the same spot. This time it's by his Space Ranger partner Alicia Hawthorne, voiced by Uzo Aduba, whom you might know as Crazy Eyes from the hit Netflix series Orange is the New Black. Hawthorne's quite the departure from the unpredictable Crazy Eyes. She's Buzz's anchor and voice of reason when the going gets tough. But wait, something else is different here. Buzz sounds not quite like himself. That's because in Lightyear he's voiced by Chris Evans. That's right, Captain America is now also Buzz Lightyear.
What the sh...
So, what's with the absence of Tim Allen, the voice of everyone's favorite space toy? According to Allen in an interview with Extra, years ago there was talk of a possible live-action Buzz. As interesting as that would have been and as this movie is, Allen, though complimentary, didn't see his Buzz as part of this new world, so he stayed out of the way. That's not to say Allen's fingerprints aren't on the character. In fact, it was his influence that made playing Buzz an intimidating proposal for Marvel star Chris Evans. Of Allen, Chris said, "He did such a good job, and I'd be a fool not to acknowledge the work he did." That's not to say Evans is playing Tim Allen playing Buzz Lightyear. Director and co-screenwriter Angus MacLean said he saw the Buzz toy as inspired by the Buzz movie, but for kids. He told Vanity Fair, "I've always wondered what movie was Buzz from. Why couldn't we just make that movie?" So that's what we did. The movie that Andy saw that changed his life, Andy's Star Wars. Like I said, there are quite a few nods to Star Wars. During the scene where Buzz and Socks are trying to hijack a spaceship, Buzz winds up having an awkward conversation with the control officer. Remind you of someone? How about scruffy rogue Han Solo in Star Wars: A New Hope? In that movie, Han has a very clumsy radio conversation with an Imperial officer while Luke tries to find Princess Leia's holding cell. Later, when Buzz and Socks land back on the planet, they encounter a young armored soldier named Izzy. More on her later, but check out the frame of Izzy's periscope binoculars HUD. It uses the same yellow and red vector graphics as Luke's targeting computer during the trench run on the Death Star in A New Hope. Also, maybe you felt your ears perk up after the Zerg robots touch down on the planet and release from their pods. There's an unintelligible voice communication that winks at the sound effect used for the self-destructing probe from The Empire Strikes Back. I know, I nailed it. Next, when Buzz and his team try to escape the Zerg robots in their ship, take a look at the cockpit setup. 2 in the front, 2 in the back with controls all around in a wide shot. Kinda feels like the cockpit shots from the Millennium Falcon, doesn't it? While we've got everyone here, let's address this ragtag bunch, starting with the droid. Socks is voiced by Pixar Swiss Army Knife Peter Sohn. By Swiss Army Knife, I mean this guy can do pretty much anything. Check out his IMDb and see what I mean. The guy's worked in 9 different departments, including cinematography, animation, writing, and directing. Socks is a gift given to Buzz by his partner Alicia after his first Lightspeed mission fails. Socks is meant to be an emotional companion to Buzz to help him cope with the 4-year time dilation. But really, Socks becomes so much more, like Goose in Captain Marvel. Sure, both cat-like beings have the ability to regurgitate important resources when needed, but like Goose, there's more to Socks than meets the eye. Did you know that Socks is based on a scrapped character from an early treatment of Toy Story 3? The character was a cat sidekick called Comet, who helped the story's main baddie Dax Blastar. None of this sounds familiar, does it? That's because it was developed by a short-lived division of Disney Animation called Circle 7 Animation. Circle 7 came about as a result of a disagreement between then Disney CEO Michael Eisner and the late Steve Jobs over the details of their Disney-Pixar film deal. Eisner wanted to keep ownership of Pixar's productions and the rights to create any and all sequels to already existing franchises. Thus, Circle 7 was born. Things got ugly. Think custody battle over sequels. In any case, once Eisner had to step down and Bob Iger took his position, Iger made things right with Jobs, and Circle 7 crew was absorbed into Walt Disney Feature Animation 14 months after it began operations. In those 14 months, Circle 7 worked on 3 sequel stories: Toy Story 3, Monsters Inc. 2, Lost in Scaradise, and Finding Nemo 2, none of which saw the light of day. I'm telling you, man, stuff gets real at the House of Mouse. But let's cut back to the cat. Did you know that Socks was a pretty popular cat name when the movie came out? And by the movie, I don't mean Lightyear, I mean the original Toy Story. Check this out, we know that Andy saw Lightyear in 1995, thanks to the opening titles. That was the same year that Toy Story debuted in theaters. At that time, Bill Clinton was midway through his first term as President of the United States. Bill's daughter Chelsea adopted a stray cat that jumped into her arms while she was leaving a piano lesson. The name she gave the presidential cat, Socks. Next up we have Izzy, voiced by Nope's Keke Palmer. When Buzz first meets Izzy, he mistakes her for his partner Alicia. That's because he sees that the name badge on her armor reads Hawthorne. Turns out that Buzz has tampered so much with hyperspeed, he's jettisoned himself so far into the future that he's looking at his old partner's granddaughter. See anything else interesting about Izzy's armor? How about the 42 on her armor? That number is significant in 2 ways. First, the number should ring a bell to readers of sci-fi. In the series The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, written by Douglas Adams, a giant supercomputer is asked the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, to which the computer replies, 42. As for sports fans and fans of the civil rights movement, the number takes on more powerful significance. The number 42 belonged to Brooklyn Dodger Jackie Robinson. Robinson was Rookie of the Year in 1947, a 6-time All-Star, National MVP in 1949, and took part in winning the 1955 World Series. As a player, he was no slouch, and he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. But he is also a civil rights icon for being the first African American to play in Major League Baseball. After his death, he was honored with the Congressional Gold Medal and the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his achievements on and off the field. After Izzy, we have Mo Morrison, played by another jack-of-all-trades, Taika Waititi. This is the actor, writer, producer, director's 3rd feature gig with Chris Evans. The two also worked on 2019's Avengers Endgame, as well as Free Guy in 2021. He also helmed Thor Ragnarok and won the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for another film he directed, Jojo Rabbit. The man knows what he's doing in front of and behind the camera. Unfortunately, his character, not so much. Mo means well, but he tends to come up short in his execution of, well, just about everything. Steele calls him a quitter. Before the group happened upon Buzz, they called themselves the Junior Patrol. When Mo found out he was signing up for something more serious than a weekend warrior workout situation, he was gonna turn in his things. Still, he's packing heat in the form of Chekhov's gun. Doesn't look like much of a gun, does it? It's not, it's a pen. But that pen is also a plot device known as Chekhov's gun, a detail within a story that will be used in the story later. For example, if you see a gun sitting somewhere on a screen, the idea is that at some point it will be used. Many writers have since broken the rule of Chekhov's gun in order to throw off their audience, at which point Chekhov's gun becomes a MacGuffin. Anyway, when the Junior Patrol puts on their Space Ranger suits, it's Mo who gets the one worn in the beginning by the rookie Featheringhamston, voiced by SNL alum and star of HBO's Barry, Bill Hader. You'll notice his suit has burnt red instead of green. This is enough to get a good laugh out of Trekkers, Trekkies, whatever they call themselves, the Star Trek fans out there. In the original Star Trek series, away teams beamed down to unknown planets. The teams usually consisted of the stars of the show, and at least one newly introduced member of the Enterprise security detail who always wore red. These new officers would meet an untimely death so often in the series that the term red shirt was conceived in their honor, or at their expense, depending on who you ask. Thankfully, the rookie doesn't die, and neither does Mo, but their wearing of that suit sure gives an audience pause. Before we move on to Steele, you might want to pause to see if you can find a famous Pixar Easter egg. Up for the challenge? Here we go! Keep your eyes peeled as Buzz and Socks escape security after the Space Ranger program becomes defunct. They jump inside of a truck and speed off. During Buzz's mission log, keep a close eye on the left side of the wide shot and you'll see that somehow a certain famous food chain has made its way onto a desolate planet with a small community of marooned space travelers. That's right, they even deliver in space. It's the Pizza Planet delivery truck. Well, turns out Buzz isn't the only one on the planet to attempt to steal a ship. Meet Darby Steele, voiced by another inmate from Orange is the New Black, Dale Souls. Darby is on parole and joined the Junior Patrol in hopes of shaving some time off her sentence. She's also pretty good at making things go boom. When being pursued by the Zerg robots, she even grabs a rocket launcher and says, "I'm gonna dance with Mr. Boom." Did you look at the model of the rocket launcher she grabs? MR8-00M. Mr. Boom, indeed. Here's another fun detail. Take a look at her Space Ranger suit. Her name badge reads Tempest. Did you know that Tempest was Buzz's original name? In test footage for the first Toy Story film back in 1992, a very early and very red Buzz model identifies himself to Woody as Tempest from Morph. Yeah, glad they didn't stick with that one. Enjoying these fun facts and Easter eggs about Lightyear? Well, don't worry, there's a ton more where these came from. Go check out Did You Know These 26 Lightyear Facts right now. I hope you liked this video and found some cool new details you hadn't seen before in Disney Pixar's Lightyear. Make sure you subscribe to Movielogic for more daily movie facts, trivia, and Easter eggs.